Hello everyone and welcome back to today's class. Today we are going to find the three equations of motion by using calculus. For that a little bit of knowledge about calculus is highly required. A little bit of differential calculus and a little bit of integration calculus is necessary. As you see I have written here some formulas regarding integration calculus that will be sufficient enough to solve the three equations of motion. Integration of x dx between the limit b to a. Now let me tell what is integration of dx. Integration of dx, the first formula, hopefully everyone can observe it. Integration of dx is equals to x. Now when none of the limits are given, then we can write integration of dx. Integration of dx is equals to x. Now when no limit is given, then that's the answer. Now if some limiting value is there, that is the value of the lower limit and the upper limit, as you can observe, the top value is the upper limit, the lower one is the lower limit. Then we write it as the value of the upper limit minus the value of the lower limit. Another example has been provided here, that is integration of dx between the lower limit x0 and the upper limit x1. We will have integration of dx will give us, obviously it will give us x, and the value is lying between the upper limit and the lower limit, so we will have to do x1 minus x0. We have a demo problem for that. Integration of dx between the limit lower limit 2 and the upper limit 10. Then again, once again, repeat with me, integration of dx will give us x, but the answer is going to lie between the upper limit and lower limit. Now what's the formula? The formula is integration of dx between the lower limit x0 and the upper limit x1 is equals to x1 minus x0, leaving us with 10 minus 2, which is equals to, it's equals to 8. So let's move on. The motion in a straight line, we have taken a path from A to B. It's a simple straight line. Displacement, we are talking about displacement, and let the length of the path be equals to x. This is while moving from A to B, the total distance traveled, the shortest length traveled by the path is equals to x. We have already gone through the topic constant velocity, instantaneous velocity, average velocity. So the velocity at any instant of time during its motion is equals to the instantaneous velocity, that is written as v instant. And similarly, if we are able to find the instantaneous velocity, then we can also find the instantaneous acceleration. Now acceleration is equals to dv by dt. What does this suggest? Dv by dt means rate of change of velocity with respect to time. But also we can write it another way. Dv by dt can be written as ddt of v, which is simply as dv by dt. Now we know that v is also equals to a function of displacement. V is a function of displacement, so v is written as dx by dt. So we end up with a formula that is acceleration of a particle at any instant of time is equals to d2x divided by dt square. That's the second differentiation, or the double differentiation of displacement. So if we differentiate displacement for 2 times, we will get acceleration. If we differentiate for 1 time, we will end up with velocity. Okay, and here are some important points that we need to remember. When dv by dt is negative, that is when the rate of change of velocity is negative, then the body is undergoing deceleration, or we can also consider it as retardation. When the rate of change of velocity is decreasing, means the initial velocity was more than the final velocity, then obviously the body is being acted upon some opposite force, due to which retardation is occurring to it. Keeping this thing in mind, let's move on. One-dimensional motion. Now suppose throughout the journey, if the acceleration is kept constant, now constant acceleration means the rate of change of velocity is constant. The rate of change of velocity is constant. That is from point A to point B to point C to point D. We have some different specific points. If the rate of change of velocity is constant, then we can say the acceleration is constant. For example, you can take it like a freely falling body. Or suppose you are driving a car where you are constantly accelerating, your velocity change is uniform with respect to time. So let's start with the basic formula. We have acceleration is equals to dv by dt. That is, dv means the rate of change of velocity with respect to time. Now if we integrate both the sides, we end up with acceleration a dt is equals to d of v. Or let me explain this thing a little bit. A into dt, that is, we are differentiating acceleration into time, which is equals to d of v. Now on the left hand side we have the function dt, and right hand side we have the function velocity. Few minutes ago we saw that integration of dx gave us x. Similarly, integration of dt then will give us t. And in the same way, if we differentiate a velocity function, dv is the velocity function, then we'll end up with velocity v. But now the scenario is the object, maybe it started from rest, so that's why we have taken a lower limit. Maybe it started from rest, and up till which time interval it has moved, we have no idea. So we have considered, let the object move till time t. And similarly, at the initial time, maybe it will be having some velocity which I don't know, I don't care, it could be anything. So that's the initial velocity of the body u, and after a time interval t, when it has reached a new velocity which also we have no idea about, so we have taken that as v. If you remember, it is similar to this formula. Hopefully you can understand this formula and this one. Both of these things are same, they are similar. So what I have written here is that time interval is taken between 0 second to t seconds, and in this time interval the change in velocity is from u to v. The velocity changes from u to v. Moving on, now integration of a dt, as you have seen that integration of dt is t, and the value is lying between the values 0 and t. Value of the upper limit is t, so we can calculate it here. At between 0 to t can be written as a into t minus 0, which will obviously finally give me a into t, which means that in the left hand side we are only left with at. And similarly on the right hand side, integration of dv gives us v between the limits v and u. Now we know that whenever we are going to do a limit, we have a limit, then the value of velocity in the upper limit minus the value of velocity in the lower limit, so v minus u, and that's why we have a v minus u, my dear friends. Okay, so now if you alter here and there, then you will find that you have end up with the first equation of motion. At is equals to v minus u, that is v is equals to u plus at, and that, my dear children, is the first equation of motion. That's the first equation of motion. Okay, let's move on. After solving the first equation of motion, it's necessary that we move on to the second equation. But how will we arrive to that? We need some help. We need some help from some equations that we already have some basic idea about. As you can observe, velocity is the rate of change of displacement with time. We already know that s is equals to ut, or x is equals to ut plus half at square. And in the first equation we don't have x, we don't have displacement, so we have to bring displacement in this equation. Now how can we bring displacement? You can think that the velocity is nothing but a function of displacement. That's why I have written, we know that velocity is equals to displacement, rate of change of displacement with respect to time, dx by dt. So we are going to substitute this thing, my dear children, I am going to substitute this thing in this first equation. Once I substitute it, the job is done. So time for substitution. In place of v, we are going to put dx by dt. So we have dx by dt, and the rest of the equation just follows through, u plus at. As you can see, it's simply u plus at. Now the next tricky step of the question. So we have dx is equals to u plus at. Next part of the question, moving on. Now if we cross multiply dt operator to the right hand side, then we have x, that is dx is equals to u plus at into dt. Okay, now here the simple rule of multiplication is used. That is, you can think it like this: u plus at into dt can be written as u into dt plus at into dt. Now what does this signify? This signifies that you have to integrate the u with respect to dt, and also you have to integrate at with respect to dt. So we have two integrations on the right hand sides, as you can see I have done here. So now we are going to integrate both sides. We are going to integrate both of these sides. In left hand side we have a function of x. So we were talking about some time interval from 0 to some time t. Obviously at the time t is equals to 0, when the object started, maybe it was at origin, maybe it was not at origin. If it was at origin, then fine, we could take this thing as 0 because dx is the rate of change of x. Maybe it was not at origin, so that's why for the sake of simplicity we have taken this one as x0. Maybe that's the location of the object at time t equals to 0. And what does the upper limit of dx considers? The upper limit of dx says that that's the position of the object after the time t has elapsed. That is, at time t, this is the position of the object at some location x, which we don't know. Now we are going to integrate this function. Hopefully you people understand that this is same as that we have been seeing at the starting of the class. This is that same thing. That is final, the upper limit value minus lower limit value, which end up with x1 minus x0. Let's come back. We have that same thing, upper limit value minus lower limit value. So left hand side is done, x minus x0. And similarly, let's move on. We have integration of u into dt. Now u is a constant here, so we can write u into dt. Then after doing that, we will have u as a function of time into t. So you see that what are we going to put the value? Inside the bracket we have time t, and obviously we are going to put the value of time t between the interval 0 and t. By doing so, we can write it that this is equals to upper limit value t minus lower limit value 0. So we have ut minus u into 0. So my dear children, ut minus u into 0, what does it mean? We will only have ut as our final answer from the brackets after the calculations are over. So that's why we have ut here. Hopefully it's simple and easy. Now let's take a look at this one, integration of at square, integration of at square dt. Now this is a function, dt will act upon t. It's not going to act upon acceleration because acceleration is a constant in this case. So let's take acceleration outside. We have integration of t square, sorry, not it's t square, integration of at into dt. So dt will act on t, e will go outside because that's a constant. So let's do it. Acceleration taken out, we have t into dt. Now this is a very simple kind of integration. We have integration of t to the power of 1 into dt. But what's the formula? Integration of t to the power of 1 into dt. So let's move back to the first page. Hopefully you can see this formula. Integration of a function to the power n is written as n plus 1 divided by n plus 1. What does it suggest? It means that we had integration a into integration of t dt. So we can write it like this. Let's follow this formula here and we can write it as a t dt, which will give us the constant a will stay outside. Integration of t dt will give us t to the power of 1 plus 1, that is 2, divided by n plus 1. N was equals to 1. 1 plus 1. So we end up with an answer a t square by 2, which can be rewritten as half into a into t square. But the problem, my dear friend, is that here is a limit. Here is a limit. Here comes the case of limits again. So integration of, let's check it out once again. Integration of at dt simply gives us half at square. But again, the integration is between the lower limit 0 and the upper limit t. So how can we write it? So we know that integration of at dt is equals to half at square. That's totally fine and that's 100% correct. But when they are between the limit 0 and t, it means that in place of the answer we have to use the value of the limit t square, half a t square between the limit the upper limit t and the lower limit 0. So now just plug in the values in here. After plugging the values, we will have half a, in place of t we are putting t, so it's simply t square, minus in place of t we are putting 0, so that is equals to 0 square. So obviously we have half a t square minus half a 0 square, which is nothing. So we end up with half a t square. So x minus x0, which we have find out a few minutes ago, equals to ut plus half a t square. Now that doesn't looks like the original equation, isn't it? So that we have learned previously. Let's check it out once again. So we have x is equals to x0 plus ut plus half a t square. Now what is the position x0? Does it rings any bell? X0 is the position of the particle at time t equals to 0. So if the body was at the position origin when the time started of its motion, then x0 is vanished. X0 is not present. If the object starts from origin, as I have already written it in here, if the object starts from origin, then the particle started from the position 0, 0. Initially it had no displacement. So the equation takes the final form that we already are accustomed with. X is equals to ut plus half a t square. And that, my dear children, is the second equation of motion. Simple, easy. Now the part of the calculus is over. Yeah, it's over. The third equation we can solve it without using calculus, and also there is a way by which we can solve by using calculus, but let's forget that for now. Moving on. Let's take a look at the first equation of motion. We know that the first equation of motion gave us v is equals to u plus at. So that's a relationship between velocity, acceleration and time. If we take the help of that formula, we can end up, there is a big chance that we will be ending up with the third formula. How so? Let's give it a try. We are just playing with the formula because Einstein says that. He said that playing is the highest form of research. You may be wrong, but don't stop playing. My dear kids, never stop playing. So we are playing with the formula. V is equals to u plus at. Now when we square both sides, we have v square is equals to u square plus 2at plus 8 plus at square. Now what's this thing? Right hand side we have a plus b whole squared form. If we take u square from right hand side to left hand side, then people, I hope you can see that we have v square minus u square, which is an essential part of the third formula. V square minus u square equals to 2ax. We are almost there. V square minus u square equals to 2u, whatever it's there, we have written at there, a square t square there. So nothing so special still now. We have not yet arrived there, but we are there almost. Now let's make an adjustment. We can take a common from here, from the first term, and we also can take one of the a common from here. Now by taking the a common, we can also take the 2 common from here, but you will say that we lack a 2 here, we have only 1. So when we are going to take 2 from here, then we have to adjust it by dividing it by 2. So that's why you people can see when I have taken 2a common in the next step, I have written 1 by 2 here. Now just in order to understand the calculation, if it is correct or right, you can go back, that is you can calculate it again. Check it out. 2a into ut. 2a into ut will give us 2u80. So we are correct. Again, let's perform the action on the right hand side. On this one also, half 80 square also. 2a into half 80 square. 2 and 2 cancels out. A into 80 square gives us a square t square. So we are totally correct. We are there. We have almost solved it. Now whatever is inside the bracket, my dear kids, tell me, what's this? Ut plus half 80 square is the distance traveled by the body, x. The second equation of motion, as you can observe here, that's the second equation of motion. Now that's the magic of physics and maths. That's why I like both. Anyway, so in place of ut plus 80 square, now we can replace it as x, and the final form of the equation takes place, that is v square minus u square is equals to 2ax, which is the third equation of motion. Hopefully every one of you have understand how we arrived into these three conclusions, that is the three equations of motion, by using calculus. See you again tomorrow, same time. In the meantime, stay safe, take care and study hard. Thank you very much.